Hello guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video. Now, as you'll have been able to see by the thumbnail, today is going to be a lockdown edition Q&A. Now, it feels like it's been a while since I've done a Q&A on YouTube, but I answer questions every week on my Instagram. So if you only follow me on here, make sure you check out my Instagram, because I always go into story times and Q&As and stuff on there. I just want to be really open and honest. It's a wide range of questions. I got so many from my story on Instagram yesterday. I've written them down in notes. I've written down 13. I feel like I'm being optimistic because you know I like to talk, but let's get going. Okay, the first one, I thought you were dating someone. Yes, I was. At the start of lockdown, we were dating for about 3 months. Without going into any detail particularly, it didn't work out for the best. And it's one of those experiences that I don't necessarily regret. It's very much you live and learn. It was an eye-opener for me that in all my life, I need to trust my gut. My gut instinct is always right. So I know that a lot of you will have watched my breakup video, and that was like 7 months ago now. That's crazy. And that was heartbreak to the core. So if you're interested, go watch my breakup video. It was literally the rawest thing I've ever done. It was like 2 or 3 weeks after my breakup, and oh yeah, I was heartbroken. This wasn't the same. So yeah, I'm single, ready to mingle. Are you on dating apps during this time? I don't think I've ever talked about dating apps on here. I know that I said when I was in London, maybe I was on dating apps. Yes, I casually look through sometimes. I'm on Hinge and Raya, and in London I find that everyone's on dating apps who's single. Like it doesn't really matter if you want to actively go on dates. It feels like it's almost like a work thing as well. It's just like a way of meeting people. And Raya is a really interesting one. Basically, I don't even know really why I'm on it, but you have to kind of be accepted onto it. It's more for creative industries and like actors and, like I said, you know, creative people, singers, sports people are on there. I don't know why I'm laughing so much. You get quite a few very famous people on there, and because it's one of these like elite clubs, I mean, why am I there, to be honest? Like what's the point of me being there? But there's been a few famouses, like, I'm gonna say it, like Lewis Hamilton, and because I'm like, whoa, there's Lewis Hamilton on here. Like, it is really crazy, and like singers and stuff. So sometimes, like with the girls, I'm like, wanna screenshot the image, like Lewis Hamilton's on here, and you're not allowed to screenshot because of privacy reasons, obviously. It's fine, it's just, it gives you a search from a pool of the world. So it's not even like people in your radius, like even in Manchester, it's just like LA and Amsterdam and things like that. I'm just like, why am I here? I don't know. And this is like a sidetrack, how things will change after this, because I just don't know. I feel like the whole dating scene will change a lot, and I think for relationships, one of my closest friend also split up with her boyfriend, and that was like a longer term boyfriend, but it was kind of like on the rocks anyway. And I think lockdown has zoomed on and highlighted in relationships that really weren't working anyway, and kind of just it's either pushed people together closer, or it's just like moved them away. And I feel like for a lot of people that I'm hearing, it's like people are working together and in a natural space for a long period of time, and they're like, I've never seen this person like this before. I don't know if I want to be with them. So I think in that way it's kind of just shone a light on relationships. And how are you coping without your friends and family around? So yeah, I live alone, so I obviously don't see any friends and family. So with the UK restrictions now, we're allowed to see one family member or one friend at a time outside, as long as you socially distance 2 meters apart. But I have been like FaceTiming. I don't particularly like Zoom or House Party, but I've been FaceTiming people, I voice note people, I speak to people every day, I speak to my mum every day, I've been chatting to my dad, I speak to my sister nearly every day. So I do miss my friends and family. I'm excited to see them like properly in person, but in actual fact, my day-to-day and being quite an isolated person anyway hasn't particularly changed too much. Okay, next question. What is your workout split? I suppose this actually stems from before lockdown. I'm not that rigorous about a workout split. I'd rather go on how my body feels. So the necessities for me is making sure I walk over 10,000 steps, which I do near enough every day. And now we're allowed to go for more than one walk a day. And obviously it's getting towards summertime now, so it tends to be a bit warmer. It's like a beautiful day outside now. And so the walking outside, or even like running a little bit, I don't run every single day, but that's a necessity for me. And also like yoga and stretching, I've really enjoyed incorporating those into my life. I've also got some 10kg dumbbells. I had some 5s before, an 8kg kettlebell, and I've got some resistance bands. So I could do everything that I needed to do with that in my workouts, and I've been enjoying my home workouts, but I just wanted something a little bit heavier. So now I've got those. I would say I probably weight train or do some kind of circuit literally never more than 25 minutes though. I never spend more than 25 minutes on my workouts, and I've probably been doing those like 4 or 5 times a week. But the other things like stretching and yoga and then going outside for a walk or run, those are my essentials every day. Okay, have you reassessed any parts of your own life in lockdown? Yes, actually, I've realised how much of an introvert I actually am. Essentially, I know that I'm always okay on my own, and that's almost reaffirmed for me the whole not being in a relationship. Often I really thrive on my own, and that has kind of proved to me in lockdown that I had a tricky week last week, but overall I feel like I've handled this really well. I suppose I've reassessed my busyness of life, and I know that I definitely don't need as much stuff. That's another thing. I definitely don't need to buy as much stuff. I definitely don't need to travel here, there and everywhere. It's made me reassess, like a lot of people, what is actually the fundamental things that are important to me in my life, and a lot of the things that don't really matter. Sometimes we get worked up about stuff. I know that I can sometimes overthink a situation, and I know that that doesn't actually matter. What matters is our health, the people that we love's health, and happiness. I wouldn't say even happiness, it's just like content and fulfillment of life. And I think taking a step back and being slower and almost not putting as much pressure on ourselves, I feel like that's been a real learning experience for me, and that I really truly hope that I can take forward for when a sense of normality is going to come. I think that this part of lockdown where it's a bit iffy now that we're supposed to stay alert, and in the UK we're not supposed to just stay at home, I feel like this time for a lot of people, and tell me if you feel the same, is more uncertain than the real restrictions that we had before, because for me, it's made me realise that it's going to be a real long time before we get back to that sense of what we knew before. And I don't even know if it will go back to the way that it was, because I think for a lot of people, they were living an unsustainable, busy life, and I think it's made a lot of people reassess anyway. Have your goals changed, personal or fitness? Yes, I take things day to day, and that is such a tip from me. I know whenever I've been through some difficult moments in my life, I don't think about the particular long term because it just feels too daunting. I literally take hour by hour and day by day, and then maybe think about the week. I don't think about the year or next 5 years. And I think that is something that's changed for me. I would say in the last 6 months that I could get worried about the future. I think everyone could, but I think this has taught us that we can plan and assess for the future and put plans in place, but in actual fact sometimes we can't control life, and often plans just have to be put on hold. So we can have goals, and we can take small steps every day to get kind of where we want to be, but often even taking those steps, it's always twists and turns and it doesn't reach the actual goal. And what are we aiming for in the goal? There'll just be a next goal and a next goal. I think my goal is to feel content and happy with what I'm doing and the progress and the way that I'm treating myself, I feel, the majority of the time. So that's how my goals have changed. I just want to be a better human being, and even though that sounds like a real wishy-washy kind of cheesy goal, I think we devalue people's morals and values and things a lot, and focus on just success that we can measure and see, I suppose. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just what I've been thinking. Is maintaining your current weight challenging? I suppose I've lost a few pounds recently, and that isn't anything but what I've said in my last YouTube video, which is that I don't go out for meals. I drank a little bit last weekend, but only a couple of glasses of wine. So I've naturally decreased my calories. Not living with anyone, I eat similar meals every day. I treat myself, but I don't actively go and buy pizza. I like to, walk a lot. I get my steps in. Basically, I eat to feel good from the inside out. And naturally, and I talked to my friend as well, the one who's just split up with her boyfriend, she said she's lost weight and she hasn't been prioritizing it. She doesn't particularly know, but it is just cooking for yourself, batch cooking meals, and often cooking your own meals and not buying out is healthier. And I think having another person there, which is like, oh, let's get the chocolate out, or cooking for them, you just naturally make bigger portions or different things that you wouldn't normally eat. So I have dropped a few pounds. And no, I'm not actively maintaining my weight. I just literally, like I said, I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full. And I know a lot of people want the magic quick fix for me to say that I've been using this specific weight loss concoction. And the honest answer is, it's just not true. Are you happy single? You seem to have your glow back. You know what? Every time I am single, I think, why wasn't I single before? I've done a lot of self-development recently. When I'm in a relationship, I naturally want to people please, and I feel like I often lose myself and sense of self. It sounds really deep, and it's something that I'm really working on. And this isn't blaming the other person in the relationship. It's nothing to do with them. It's totally on me. I become just this giver, and I just want to give and give and give. I do know where it comes from. It comes from childhood, definitely. And I have done some work around this. but I find when I'm single, I'm much more like me. I honestly do feel like I have a bit of more get up and go and more sparkle and more just inside of me. I don't know, I just feel more content. Obviously in the future I do want to be with someone. I do want, not the fairy tale because I don't believe that's out there, but I do want to be happy and content with someone who I truly love and who loves me back. In the process of doing that, I need to get to a stage where I don't sacrifice myself and let myself be swayed off my journey. I know that that's really deep and it's so honest, and I feel a little bit nervous saying it, but it's something that I'm working on. I definitely want to work on in my next long-term relationship for sure, and still being a good person and a giver, because that's in my nature, that's what I will always be, but I don't want to like sacrifice myself in order to be with someone else. So what life events have shaped your perspective for better or worse? I've said this before, it's always the events that you feel crushed by, the failures. I remember when I finished my teaching PGCE and I was desperate to work at the school. I absolutely loved it. I did a placement there and I went for the interview, and I was absolutely sure, everyone was, even the head of department, like she was my mentor there, and I was absolutely sure that I would get the job. And lo and behold, I just wasn't good enough. I remember doing the interview and it went awful. I thought I was prepared, but I just crumbled. And I shouldn't have got the job, and I didn't get the job, and she said it was really close, but I was crushed by it, because that was in the plan. I was going to teach there. But if I had taught there because I absolutely loved the school, and they were a lot stricter than the school that I eventually went to teach at, and I love that school as well, and I love the people, the staff there, but I don't know if it would have led me on the path that I eventually went into. It was like the end of my long-term relationship last year. I was crushed when it ended. I literally felt like someone was sitting on my chest and wouldn't get off. I thought the world was going to end. It felt like I would never ever be truly happy again. But how wrong I was, because if I had stayed in that relationship, I would have stayed in London, and I knew that my time in London was coming to an end. But he was very much like a southerner, in London, wanted to stay in London, had his job in London. And when I look back on the relationship now with a fresh perspective, and you know, I still want the best for him, absolutely. He is a very good person, but we weren't compatible for our future plans and what we wanted. And so even though it was crushing at the time, I did so much work on myself, truly, things that were like my shadows that I thought that I could just push to the past. I really like delved deep into them. I got a life coach and moved back to Manchester, and I can honestly say that all the life events that are the pivotal moments, they are often the most transformational moments as well. I think that really relates to what we're all going through now. Why don't you keep your hair short? It looks lovely. Oh, bless you. Right, okay, so anyone who doesn't know, all my extensions are out now, all of them. I haven't seen my natural hair for like 7 years. It's not good. No, my mum says, which is true, she says you'll have to have a break from extensions at some point. So this was just literally the push you needed, but it's scary how thin and short my hair is. This is going to be the last question because I feel like this is going to go on forever. books or podcasts you'd recommend to not worry about the future. All the books and podcasts I love to listen to anyway are kind of motivational, self-help things. James Clear's, like I've said before, Atomic Habits, I feel is really good in this time because it shows you how small steps make a really big difference. So to not really think about the goal, to think about the steps that you're going to take to achieve it. So the small step could be every day would be making your bed in the morning, and that could be every day, and it's just like how it translates. What do I love? Oh gosh, Elizabeth Day's How to Fail. I absolutely love that. It's just things and adversity and how people got through it, and they all say that those failures were the things that were the pivotal moments in their lives. No one goes through a failure or a period that they didn't teach them something of resilience and gain strength and things like that, and it may be really horrible at the time, but they always came out the other side. And isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing, like our human spirit and body, when we feel like we're literally getting crushed and nothing will make sense anymore, and we always in some way come out of the other side. I'm trying to think of different ones. Let me just have a look through my podcast. For like nice, like almost funny, I like the high-low. Oh, I really like Kagi's podcast called Saturn Returns. That's really, really good. She had Shauna Virtue on the other day, and actually Elizabeth Day's from her podcast. That's really good. If you want to listen to something really light-hearted, it's very like female, quite sex and relationships. Girls Gotta Weep, they're two New Yorkers, and they're just hilarious, and it's really, some of the content is really like quite shocking in a way, but in a like a confrontational way that you just don't really hear, and it's really, really good. I really like Fern Cotton's Happy Place as well. That's really inspirational. So Stephen Bartlett hasn't done a podcast for a while, but that's really good, called The Diary of a CEO. That's kind of really motivational too. Now that's going to be it for today's Q&A, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've thought about some things yourself, what you've kind of learned in lockdown as well, and I hope I've answered a lot of your questions. I hope you are truly keeping safe and well and are content as much as can be expected during this time. So until next video, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye.